He's muted right now.
It's not on Rumble. It's not on Rumble yet. When it's on Rumble, I'll say something.
So at least on my end, it should be fine. Scotty, go ahead and say something. So at least on my end, it should be fine. Scotty, go ahead and say something. At least on my end, it should be fine.
So I'll say something. Test 1 2. Test 1 2. So I'll say something. Test 1 2. Test 1 2.
Okay, Joe. Yeah, okay. All right, you came out. You came out on YouTube. Okay, so I guess I can hear myself. Okay, we're good. And folks, I apologize. We're still beta testing this whole thing, trying to figure it out. But anyways, welcome to our channel. If you're on Rumble, Florida Oversight 101 is the channel. If you're on YouTube, it's B75 Truth. And for those of you on Facebook, you know me by Roberto Leyva. We have Scotty here as usual, and we have Joe, and just a quick with Kevin Costner, for example, in the entertainment industry, a Great Again movie. You know, we'll let you know how to get to his movie or whatnot. But today's discussion, we're going to be discussing monetary policy, and not that we're experts. Everybody has their own opinions, but that's why we have our own channel to express our own opinions per the First Amendment of the United States of America Constitution. But we will be discussing our research and how all this monetary policy and budget and all that stuff is gonna take our country to ruin. Most people think that the United States of America, for some reason, is immune to not going down like the big Roman empires. And if we follow the steps on where we're headed to, we're heading the same exact path as Rome, for example, until their demise. Same exact path. If you don't believe me, do your own research and actually watch the documentary from or the series, if you will, from Mike Maloney, called "The Hidden Secrets of Money." I think it's called. Correct me if I'm wrong, Scotty. Scotty, you're muted.
Yeah, Hidden Secrets of Money by Mike Maloney. It's on YouTube.
By Mike Maloney. He'll explain there's 7 stages that Rome went through, and every single big empire went through 7 stages, and we're basically on stage 7. So for those of you who think that everything is okay, you got food on the table, not as much food as maybe 10, 20 years ago, and your roof above your head is costing a lot more money, and so on and so forth, it is because of the monetary policy that our founding fathers warned us about. So we'll be talking about what's real money, Mike Maloney can explain it to you, and we'll be talking about uh, the green pieces of paper that everybody loves so much, and how those green pieces of paper are actually taking away your purchasing power, and they're taking away the sweat of your brow, and how we need to get out of the system. Because as long as the music keeps playing, and Joe and Scotty and myself, we've always had that discussion. As long as the music keeps on playing, these green pieces of paper will buy assets. But until the rest of the world realizes that these pieces of paper could be as good as toilet paper, you know, it will continue to buy assets until people realize that this is not worth anything. But anyways,
Can I interject?
yes, of course, of course. This is a discussion, a panel discussion. Not Go ahead, go ahead.
Yes, crosstalk rules are in effect, and the definition of crosstalk rules is basically means people can jump in at any time.
10-4.
So you said that. Say again.
10-4.
You said that. You said that as long as people have confidence in the money, it's in the money, right? Oh,
No, that's correct. I had my mic muted.
He's good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that confidence is like a religious belief. So my first question that everybody needs to answer for themselves is that when you hand a piece of paper, a $5 bill, I like to use the grocery store. Somebody goes to the grocery store, they're buying a gallon of milk. When they're handing a $5 bill to the cashier is putting their faith, it's like a religious faith, in that $5 bill. Now, you receiving the gallon of milk doesn't take much faith to receive a gallon of milk in exchange, but the faith is in the monetary policy. Does that make sense to anybody?
Yeah, that is correct. And here's a caveat to that. The caveat to that is that
And here's a real
Go ahead,
problem.
Joe, go ahead.
Here's the real problem of them putting their faith in that monetary policy. The monetary policy of the United States is the set of policies that the Federal Reserve follows. Keywords: Federal Reserve follows. The Federal Reserve is a for-profit corporation. There's nothing federal about it. It's because it's a for-profit corporation, and it's never paid 1 cent in taxes. It was created by the establishment, literally. The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Morgans, the Warburgs from Europe. This is the central illusion in America. They like calling it the central bank, but it's really the central illusion in America. Okay, this is a foreign entity coming into our country and taking charge of our monetary policy. This is a complete joke. It is a joke. And until this is fully addressed, we're going to have a debt-based currency called Federal Reserve notes. It has to be addressed head on. And I firmly, I know you started out saying, some truthful things, and they were negative, but they are truthful. But I do firmly believe in President Trump, and I think he's doing some great things. But he's only one man. He's got a good cabinet as well. They're doing a lot of work, and I think we're going to gradually get to where we have to go. So I don't fully agree with everything that was stated up front, but the point here is that this is the central problem that needs to be addressed, and I'll let you guys comment.
Yeah, that is correct. And the caveat to what you said, Scotty, about the $5 bill. Here's the thing. Like you say, I go to the grocery store to buy a gallon of milk with a $5 bill. Here's the thing. I worked, let's say, just to make the math easy or whatever, I worked 1 hour. Let's say I earned $5 an hour. So I worked 1 hour to earn that $5 bill, and I got paid with that piece of paper that has printed $5 on it. So the sweat of my brow is tied to that $5. But here's the thing: we're basically accepting that, but giving the power to, like Joe said, the central, the Central Federal Reserve, which can print the money at will and dilute the $5, therefore diluting the sweat of your brow. Even though the sweat of your brow was worth $5 tied to that $5 bill, by them printing double the amount of $5 bills, now your work is really worth half of that. Let's say, $2.50, even though the $5 bill says $5. So if the gallon of milk was worth $5, now because they diluted the money, now you need to work twice as much. An example, right? You need to work 2 hours because now you need 2 of those $5 bills to buy that same gallon of milk, hence inflation. So go ahead, Scotty.
Well, yeah, and when you said that you work for an hour for $5 an hour, and in return you receive the $5 bill, basically you're exhibiting the same
Go ahead and mute, please.
Okay, that was background noise.
Thank you, sir.
So just because you received $5, you use the example that you worked for an hour to receive a $5 bill. You are actually exhibiting the same kind of faith as being the recipient of that $5 bill, that the cashier is exhibiting the faith as being the recipient of that $5 bill for a gallon of milk. So my question to you is, what is the legal definition of that $5 bill? We use the word dollar, so let's look at what Joe said about the Federal Reserve making the rules, making the laws. What does the Federal Reserve describe the legal definition of a dollar? What is the legal definition of a dollar? I'd like to get both of you to answer that.
Well, let's go ahead and see what the actual note says. The actual piece of paper says. Let's see.
It's not on the piece of paper. It's in the Federal Reserve documents. Joe, do you want to answer that?
It's not coming to mind exactly what it's saying, but what it says. But to me, the fact is, I mean, there's like an elephant in the room, and the elephant is the Federal Reserve. And so, in simple terms, if you want to change something, you got to do the simple thing that's staring us in the face. You got to get rid of the Federal Reserve. We've been talking about it forever, and so that's what needs to happen. And we won't even have to go into all these details in the future when that happens.
That's true, but we need to know where we're at now, and I'd like to share my screen. And we're going to go to Google.
Okay, so let's start with this is a football.
Yeah, this is a football. Yes, that's what.
So, where in the Constitution, Scotty, does it state that these pieces of paper are legal tender?
Okay, Constitution.
Yes.
I like to look at. Yeah, it sounds good. Let's go to the Constitution. We're going to look for form.
Yeah, basically, gold and silver is the mode of currency in America.
Yep. Let's put it on the screen. Pocket form. And we're going to look for M-654. What is pocket form 654? When we look at pocket form, it's what? Citizen foundation skills. Okay, it's better to put in pocket in quotation marks, form in quotation marks. Unfortunately, you got to do it this way. Everybody needs to learn there's a big difference between typing in words and typing in words enclosed in quotation marks. So if we look at pocket form 654, there's the AI answer tells you that the pocket form is a pocket-sized Declaration of Independence and Constitution of the United States. It's a booklet that's published by the United States Citizen Immigration Services. Well, let's look at that document. It's right here. Citizen Foundation Skills Knowledge. That's not it. Look at that. It's not even giving it to you. Where's that form? Ah, it's taking it off the screen. Can you believe that? Administrative, it's not the.
Yes, it's just the means of not sure. They don't want people to know the truth. So
Yeah, they don't want people to find it because that is not the document. Amazon Web Services, no.
And essentially the same people who created the Federal Reserve, the same families control what's online. So they're all on the same team.
Yeah, but we can find it. SITE : .gov because it's a government website. It's actually in two different places. It's on. Oh, look at this. Google is saying you can't find it. You kidding me? Oh, because I didn't type it in right. GOV. I typed in the wrong.
And I think that's a comma. You got to put a dot in there. .gov, right? You put a comma. I see a comma there. Or correct me if I'm.
Yep. It looks like a comma. .gov. Thank you. 5 fingers. Okay. Citizenship. Look, there it is again. Here it is. That's what you're looking for. The Declaration of Independence and the Constitution PDF file. It's on gpo.gov, and it's also on uscis.gov. But we're going to look at the gpo.gov. This is the document, and it's going to be simple. It's 33 pages. We're going to look for gold. Actually, let's look for the word silver coin, because that's what we're going to look at next. This is Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution. Let me scroll up so you can see. Section 9. Just let you know that this is the document. Section 4. Here it is. Section 1. Article 1. Section 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we're going to look at Article 1, Section 10. And it says, no state shall, we're just going to stop there. No state shall, blah, blah, blah. And it says, no state shall emit bills of credit, and no state shall make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debt. Now, what does that mean? Make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts. This is what it means. If you go into Google, and we're also going to do another Google search, and we're going to look for grains, grains, of silver. And we're going to look in SITE:.gov. So we're looking for grains of silver. National Archives, National Institute of Health, all of these different references of grains of silver. Let's highlight them. Grains
So folks,
silver.
What Scotty is doing there is he's in quotations, grains of silver. He's looking for that very same exact phrase in a site that ends with .gov. You could actually put any site. You could say whatever website it is. For example, Senate. We could look for it in Senate.gov. But in this case, we're leaving it open-ended. .gov. Any website that ends with .gov, that's what he's looking for. That specific phrase, grains of silver. Just so you know.
Yeah, well said. Let's look at Senate.gov because I think Senate.gov has something interesting. SENATE.gov. Nope, it's not on Senate.gov. It's I can tell you this, it's on GovInfo, GOVINFO.gov. And what's interesting about that This is all out of the congressional record, and we can look for every reference to grains of silver, grains of silver. This is the legal definition of a dollar. Let's look for that. Let's look for dollar. Put in quotation mark, dollar, grains of silver. Grains of silver or gold, congressional record. Now, here's what's interesting. If you go to congress.gov, let's go ahead and do that. Maybe I should have done that. Congress.gov. And in congress.gov, that is where we'll search for grains of silver. Because this is where you really find the answer. Of silver, quotation mark, or quote, yep, grains of silver. And you do a search, and you'll see that it's in the congressional record. It's searching right now. Yep, it's searching right now. Okay, it's not found within just this congressional
Fiscal year.
But if we
Yeah.
But if you X out and remove that, it looks in all of the years. Nobody's talked about grains of silver within the last 2 years. And that's what's wrong. Here it's coming. So it's listed it's listed 283 times. Now I'm going to change the results. Instead of 100 per page, I'm going to change the results to 250 per page. So this is going to be 250 results in the congressional record for the phrase grains of silver.
And we're still going to be short 33 results.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go to page 2. Actually, before I go to page 2, I'm going to sort it. I'm going to put the newest on top. So that means that the oldest will be on the bottom.
All right. So the point is, we can go back all the way to 1879 and probably even further back. Okay. Now, here's a point to all of this, folks. Here's why gold and silver should be every single ways of exchange or purchasing, payment of debt, etc., should be pegged to gold and silver. See, gold and silver, a man, if you will, when I say man, I mean human, man cannot make gold and silver. We can print money, but we cannot make gold and silver, so we cannot dilute our purchasing power or our labor, if you will. That is how the Federal Reserve and those who are manipulating our monetary policy are literally stealing our purchasing power by just printing money at will, raising interest rates at will, bringing down interest rates at will. So it's giving the power to those that can do those things instead of giving it the power to nature. And for those of you that are believers in God, for God's money, if you will, which is gold and silver, we cannot produce it, so we cannot dilute it. There's only a certain amount of gold and silver that we have in this earth. Now we cannot.
They're stealing the sweat of your brow. They're stealing the sweat of your brow.
Stealing the sweat of your brow. Right? Joe, you wanted to say something?
Well, just relative to some of the stuff you were saying, I just read today, it's interestingly enough, that back during Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, it says in the book of Genesis that Abraham had a lot of cattle. It said he was very rich and he had a lot of cattle and a lot of gold and silver. So It goes all the way. That's the word of God telling you that rich is gold and silver. Also, I also want to interject here. I think we're in a really telling time. If you're not aware of it presently, silver is almost, I think last time I checked, $54. It's gone up over 100%. I think like 130% in the last year or so. And gold is approaching 5,000, same type of percentages on that. And what I'm trying to point out here is that this being a telling time, those if you want to call them, I don't want to call them entities, but gold and silver, those two items are gaining in value right now. And if they are to be the mode of currency in America someday again, why they are gaining in terms of their value, and they're doing it at a rapid rate.
Well, actually, it's not that the gold or silver is gaining in value. It's actually that the fiat money is losing value. That's the purchasing power.
Well, it's that's a whole nother discussion.
Well, not really, Joe. Because here's the thing, and let's put it into perspective. Back in the early 1900s, when gold was $35, okay, you were able to purchase a house for, back then, whatever, $5,000, $5,500, give or take. Okay, like 155 ounces of gold will buy you a house back then, and gold back then was at $35 an ounce. So 155 ounces times 35, that's about $5,425. Nowadays, 155 ounces is worth, and I'm just going to say $4,000. I know it's a lot more than that, but it's $4,000 just to make the math easy. $4,000, that's $620,000. So you could buy, so with the same ounces of gold, you can buy a heck of a better house than back then. The point is that you could basically still buy a house. It's just that it's taking a lot more dollars to buy the same item. Hence inflation. That's what people need to understand.
Right. Yeah. Inflation is, if the kettle of soup, inflation, if you have a kettle of soup and you add water to the soup and you're watering it down, that's what real inflation is. I mean, it's just watering down the value of your money presently.
See, and what's happening now is that the reason why us Americans have been able to live this false way of life, false, quote unquote, luxurious compared to the rest of the world, quote unquote,
the illusion
way of life, is because the rest of the world has, and what we were discussing in the beginning, the rest of the world has confidence in the dollar. Therefore, they're holding it as a reserve. All the central banks all over the world are holding it, so we can print, and what happens is that our inflation is spread out throughout the whole world. And as the world population increases, even though we're printing so much money, the inflation is being spread out all over the world. But here's what happens: they're holding all our debts, our bonds, etc. Here's what happens if the United States defaults. If it defaults on our obligations, whether it's our national debt with the Federal Reserve, and I know how you feel about that, Joe, our debt with the Federal Reserve, or our debt with all the other countries. If we default, then all the other central banks in the world will panic, let go all the bonds, all that currency, that fiat currency, the dollars, will flood back into the United States and then create hyperinflation. And the reason why is because all that money is going to start circulating. Oh my, so much money. So all the prices of everything are going to go up. And just for reference, like we were talking about in the beginning of the video, that same $5 to buy that gallon of milk, now you're going to need 100 of those dollars to buy that same amount of milk because of all that money circulating. So
Yeah, you said,
we're gonna become a third world country because of that.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, you saw that in Zimbabwe.
and
That
and
exact same thing
Argentina
happened.
and Argentina, which brings
Yeah.
us to Javier Milei is doing the right thing by cutting everything. He's coming in with a hatchet, and he's come in with a hatchet the last 3 or 4 years and cutting everything. And yes, we'll go through pain if we were to go through that. And here's the thing: Trump is not able to do that because there's, we got Congress, we got the Senate, we got everything, separation of powers, which I agree with. But the only way we will fix that is by balancing the budget, and the only way to balance the budget is to just cut everything. And if we have to cut Social Security, it is what it is. We can't. But yet all these Democrats and leftists are coming in and saying, no, free healthcare to all the illegals, free healthcare for everyone. Where are we getting the money? Where?
Well,
We can still
yeah.
print
Well,
money because of what I said earlier. But had it not been for that, where are we getting the money?
yeah, that's kind of why I started out talking about the Federal Reserve. Did away with that remnant of it. Things would fall into place more naturally, much and very rapidly. You would go through a hard time initially, but that's what John F. Kennedy was trying to do, and that's why he got killed. Our words about it. He left off, but I think this time, through 3 attempts on his life, really, there's been many more than 3 attempts on his life. I've heard like over 18 or more. So I think we're kind of right where Kennedy left off, or we're closing in on that, and I think that's going to be addressed. But the real culprit is the Federal Reserve that needs to be just taken out of this country, decades ago.
See, you go ahead.
So
go ahead.
On the screen, the definition of what a dollar is. His thought.
Oh no, I'm finished.
Interesting. The oldest reference that we have, which is on the screen, it's the last result down there at the bottom, April 7th. I'd like to point out that which is the same year, let me make sure I got it right. No, 1791. My bad. I keep getting that confused. 1791 was when the first bank was created in the United States. So here it is, 1874. This is after the Civil War, 1874. So that's right, 1871. That's why that number is burned into my head. Tell us about 1871, Joe, and then we'll look at the congressional record.
Well, you want to talk about the Act of 1871?
Yeah, talk about it.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that already know this, but the Act of 1871 was when the establishment basically took over. We were in debt after the Civil War, which was 1865. It ended thereabouts. And so we let the bankers come in and bail us out. And in exchange for that, they got to create the United States Corporation. And the United States Corporation is literally, it's a foreign country in America. And it is called the District of Columbia. And the District of Columbia is the DC in Washington. A lot of people on here listening who do not know that Washington DC stands for District of Columbia. Washington DC is a super state. It's called what's called a super state, just like London. Vatican is a super state. It's a country unto itself. So what these bankers came in and they created a foreign country in our country. And this is the actual coup d'etat in America. This is the illusion we live under. We have a living and breathing coup d'etat going on right now. Trump is doing great things, but they still are in our country, especially through the judicial system. So, the district initially was a 10-mile radius. I think it's like a 60-mile radius now. And the establishment lives in America. This is how they've taken over. That's why we have a communist central bank in the Federal Reserve. A communist central bank is central to the Communist Manifesto. It's one of the planks. That's the most important plank, this manifesto. So we literally have communism, and we have, as I said, Trump is working hard. He's phenomenal things, and I'm looking forward to see how this all pans out. I think it's going to pan out in a good way, but this is the evil in our country. This is the degradation of our country for our future. What's going on in those key families, which goes, we can talk about that another time. Go ahead.
See, and here's the thing. Here's the thing about people are criticizing about the big beautiful bill. If Trump, for example, would have on a deficit, I think they try to cut as much as they can, enough to get the bill passed. Budget. See, the federal government only has Sorry, guys, a little technical difficulty here. Let me bring back our guests. 1 second. One second. I apologize for that. Let's see. 1 second. Guys, can you hear me? One second, folks. All right, little technical difficulty, guys. Give me a second. Bear with me. All right, Scotty and Joe, do you copy? Joe, can you hear me? One second, folks. Joe, do you copy? Well, anyways, sorry for the technical difficulty, folks. So I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up. And as you can see on the title, we have Constitution Help, constitutionhelp.com. What that does is it's a website that shows you about the Constitution, Constitution Help, how to use the Constitution to your favor, not just to defend yourself in case you have a legal situation, but also to take our country back. It's a method to put our representatives accountable, to hold our representatives accountable. But I highly suggest you go in and check it out and learn. It's very, very educational. It's basically free. And constitutionhelp.com. And Joe, Joseph Zabrowski, he actually produced a movie called Make America Great Again movie, which I highly recommend you guys watch it. Go ahead and search it on YouTube. If I do find the link to it, I'll find a way of how to include it in the description box below. Again, YouTube channel B75 Truth, B-75 Truth. On Rumble, Florida Oversight 101 or 101. You can find us on Rumble. And for those of you on Facebook, you know how to find me on Facebook. So with that said, again, we're going to try to make it a weekly thing here where we can discuss things that are going on, different subjects, etc. And we'll try to have different guests on and have discussions with different guests. We will be having weekly calls. We'll let you guys know we'll be having weekly calls where anybody can come in and participate and have conversations amongst each other. I'm not going to say with us because we're not, you know, the head of anything or anything like that. We're just normal citizens or civilians, just like everybody else is. So it's just about a matter of having discussions on what problems we have and what solutions we have for the problems. And if you can, when I say take our country back, I mean we the people. We the people need to have the power as a collective, and not depend on big government to not depend on big government to tell us what to do. In the sense of, obviously, we shouldn't have anarchy or anything like that where we could just do whatever we want and hurt other people. It's just about, as a collective, not hurt anybody else, but let us be free, open market to do what we do. And that's where capitalism versus socialism and communism comes in. Why are you going to hold back a person that has innovation, that has produced something that everybody wants, that everybody's purchasing, and prevent them from becoming millionaires or billionaires? They should be free to do that. If you have a problem with that, don't buy their products. Simply that. Just don't buy their products. And so if you want their products and you love their products, continue buying their products. There's no reason why that one person or a group of people that fabricated something or produced something that everybody loves and wants or even needs, okay, why are we going to hold them back from becoming millionaires or billionaires? You know, produce your own thing, and everybody has the opportunity. Maybe not everybody wants to be a millionaire. Not everybody wants to be a billionaire. I'm not saying want. Not everybody has the aspiration to be a millionaire or a billionaire. But everybody has the opportunity, at least in the United States of America, to this day, despite all the freedoms and liberties that have been taken away from us, we still have the opportunity to do what we want. And everybody has the same opportunity to become wealthy in your own sense, whatever the word wealthy means to you. Because the word wealthy can, for one person, can mean just owning my land, producing my own food, digging my own water from the well, solar energy, and live completely off the grid. That could be one person's definition of wealth. Whereas another person's definition of wealth is being able to have the big mansions, the big cars, the big vacations, the big everything. Everybody should have the freedom of doing that. What does communism and socialism does? It says, oh no, you can't be a millionaire or billionaire. Give us back that money and we'll distribute it amongst the poor that are lazy and don't want to work or don't want to have the aspiration of running a business. No. So what's that going to do? The millionaire or billionaire is going to say, oh, fuck it. Not going to produce anything or anything like that. There's no incentives. There needs to be incentive. That's just the way human beings are. We're not robots. We're not robots. Okay, everybody equal. Everybody, no, I'm okay with 7 shirts and 7 pants and 7 underwears. I'm okay with that. But to have the government say, no, you cannot have 7 shirts and 7 underwears. You got to have 3. So you got to wash twice a week. That's all we're going to give you. That's all you can have. That's what socialism and communism is. So in a sense, going back to the monetary policy, the Federal Reserve, if you're giving power too centralized, that's what happens. That's what the separation of power comes in when it comes to government. So all these no king protests and this and that, nobody wants a king. I don't see a king here. Okay, there's only so much, for example, our current president Trump can do, and this and that. So how the heck is he a king? He's a king to the executive branch. He is the head of the executive branch, so he can basically do what he wants within the executive branch. Okay, so he's a king of the executive branch, all right, but he's not our king. The power lies within the people, folks, and that's what we gotta spread that. But any which way, with that said, let's go ahead and wrap it up here. Well, look out for us on next Tuesday. We still don't have a set time. It's very difficult for me, as you guys see. I'm still out here, trucking. Very difficult for me to say, okay, every Tuesday at noon. But look out for us. Richard. All right. So I see you're commenting here. Let's see. Correct your status. The only absolute right of a U.S. citizen is residence. See the court case. U.S. versus Valentine. Okay. Thank you for those comments, Richard. State citizens have rights. The Freemason motto is order out of chaos. They create the chaos so they can get their order. A U.S. citizen is a business. 15 United States Code 4724. Yeah, we've seen it. It's a corporation. It specifically says corporation. Now the question is, how are they defining corporation? That's why we have to go back to the dictionaries of 1871. It could be Black's Law Dictionary. What's the definition of a corporation? Because a corporation could be a business, or a corporation could be something that you're incorporating. You're incorporating, I don't know, or implementing or incorporating. So that's where we gotta see what the definition is. But anyway, thank you for the comments. Thank you for those that joined us, and looking forward for next Tuesday. Thank you very much, and have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye. And again, sorry for the technical difficulties. Have a great day. Thanks.